Greetings, Valdegorians, and welcome to a kind of recap of my experience with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. As when me and George we got together to do the first impressions video of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, we gave our first impressions of our first. We did about 10 hours by then. We was both around the same page, and since then I've put a lot more time in than George, just because George hasn't really had the chance to do as much because he's had a lot of time with work in things, so he hasn't had the chance. Whereas me, I've had a lot of time off, so I've kind of been concentrating a lot on this game, and I've just got to level 37 now, just about 30 minutes before this video was recorded, and I said that I'd do the full recap of my experiences in a month's time, as a month from the previous video was released, and this game is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And before I kind of go into different areas of the game, I don't want people to think this is a review of sorts, because I'm not going to be advertising the game or whatever. I'm just going to kind of go through my opinions of what I like and what I didn't like about the game, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. And the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about is the story elements of The Witcher. It's the strongest point for me of The Witcher 1 and 2 is the drastic changes that you can get along with the story. And especially this took shape massively in Witcher 2, when you can decide characters' fates, which can ultimately end to a completely different ending, which is the same here. Like, I haven't fully finished the game yet. I'm pretty close, I think. I don't think I'm 100 miles away, because I've got back to Kaer Morhen, and I've heard that there's not too much after that, not too long. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what kind of happens further on. But one thing that I've learned is that even little things like having fights in bars, like deciding whether to kill someone or not, that can have a major impact on what happens next. Like, it sends you off to a different location, which will impact the next quest, and so forth. And it's led to me and a couple of friends who I've got around the area where I live who played The Witcher 3 who are in completely different sides of the story to me. Like, the side quests are obviously still the same. Like, most of the side quests are still the same. The Witcher contracts are still the same. But the main story, like, I've gone so far ahead of where... so far different to what other people have gone that I know. And the main reason for that being is what I did in the previous Witcher games, which got me really happy when I heard that this was going to be in the game, where you can transfer your save from 1 and 2 over to the PlayStation 4 from the PC. But you do this through the talking to the barber when he's cutting your beard, and then he asks you about different events that you've done in the previous 2 games, which was a great nostalgia moment as well at the same time. You know, recapping what you've done, the famous moments that you've done in the Witcher 2, and you're telling him the story, the things that you've done, like, I've killed this guy, yada yada. You know what I mean? If you've played the previous 2, I don't want to spoil anything, because in case people haven't. So, and then you get all of them, and they're the choices that you set for the game. So then the main story could change. Characters sometimes in the game or not in the game. I can know the ultimate choice that you make at the end of The Witcher 2. That character could be in The Witcher 3, depending on what choice you made in The Witcher 2, which astounds me incredibly. Like, a friend that I've got at work, that character is in his game, and he said that you saw him in the middle of a hut, and I was like, he wasn't in mine, and I was like, well, why weren't you in yours? Because I killed him in Witcher 2. I mean, it's quite incredible how different this game can go, and the amount of replayability the game has got is absolutely astounding. I mean, it's blown me away. It's sensational, utterly sensational, and everyone is getting a different experience, which sounds as corny as shit, but it's true. Because even if you pick the same choices in the previous 2 games, there's so many different places where you can diverge in the later game. And it's led me to enjoying the game a lot more, to kind of really get in the grips of characters a lot more than I have done in any other game. And that is a fact. Any other game, I wouldn't care as much about these characters. Like, my favourite open world RPG is Skyrim. And the thing that Skyrim does poorly is its characters. The character development you get in that game is shocking. It's absolutely awful. There's not really any character in that game where I cared about, whereas in The Witcher 3, when I spoke to different NPCs, I was like, I want to call them characters because that's what they are. They're not NPCs in my eyes, you know. Like when you're speaking to them, and I'm trying to get a fix of them. Like when I first met the Bloody Baron, because the Bloody Baron is really the first landmark of where the character's development can go. Like I'm going to be spoiling aspects of The Witcher 3 just to let you know, which is kind of obvious, I suppose. But when you first meet the Bloody Baron, and you talk to him, he's like, "Oh, this guy is really wanting to get his wife and daughter back to where he is." You know, he's kind of grieving because that's what it would be in 9 out of 10 games. You know, you'd think like, okay, let's get this wife and daughter back, and then he'll come and help me and tell me where Ciri is. But no, you go to find other people, like people who have witnessed him beating his wife almost to death, and then you're thinking, shit, this Baron guy, and that he's a big drinker, and he almost kills his daughter, and you're like, whoa, this guy has got some serious issues, and you're thinking, should I get his wife and daughter back? But then you're thinking, oh, I've got to also find Ciri for the main story, so you're in kind of a conflict interest, and you've got to select the lesser evils, really. So the opinions of characters can change in a heartbeat. It's like watching Game of Thrones, you know? Like, you think you know a character so well, and then something just hits you right round the head. Think, wow, my opinion just completely changed. It happens countless number of times in this game, countless. And there's really only a handful of characters that you can trust. And even them ones, I wouldn't deny them possibly killing me when I go to sleep. You know, it's got you on grips. It's got you holding on. It's so enjoyable. So when you're talking to characters and finding more about them, more about the past, because the thing about it with the Nilfgaardian Empire invading the Northern Realms, you're getting a lot of different kind of racism, kind of racist culture, kind of going like, oh, the black ones are coming, you want to avoid them, and things like that. So you're kind of thinking like, what have these done before to the Northern Realms? Like you hear whispers in The Witcher 2 and the first Witcher, but that's not really the part. But now that the invasion has happened, you're kind of seeing a much more kind of focus on that, where people are kind of referring to them, like I said before, as the Black Ones, and referring to different people that they've killed, that they've known. So they've got this kind of hatred against them, and you can really see the toll that this invasion is happening in the game. There's so many battlefields where battles have taken place, like prior to you getting there, or when you, like the one outside Novigrad, the side quest where you do a side quest in this kind of like open area field where you're with a guy and you've got to find these herbs for him to make this potion so you can have it. You see, at the end of it, you find a new recipe, and then a main story quest two parts later with Yennefer, and that is the land was decimated. I was like, hang on a minute, I was here like 2 days ago, and then the battle's just taken place, and you're kind of walking around using your witch sense, finding clues, and you're thinking, wow, some shit has gone down here. And then you hear how the Nilfgaardian armies come in and kind of massacred everyone, and then the Northern Realms kind of sent an army back, and it was just a colossal nightmare, a huge nightmare. And then you're thinking, who do I fight for in this war? I know at the start it tells you that the Northern Realms are kind of your customary faction to kind of support, but it makes you double think that at times. Like, you think you can reason with both sides, which I fully appreciate in a RPG, in any RPG that does it. Because the problem that I've had with Dragon Age when I've tried to play that, the characters in that and the story, the factions, they're so black and white. It's BioWare all over. Everything is, this is good and this is bad. Whereas The Witcher, I don't think there's one character of age, so over the child's age, who's completely good. There is some bad aspect to them, which is like real life. There is not really anyone alive today who's completely good or completely bad. You know, there's warming elements to people and there's bad elements to people, and you get that in The Witcher 3. Like, it's real life, the game, when it comes to people and it comes to the stories that you're getting, because it's so rich and real, and it is definitely the strongest area of the game for me. The stories, especially, like, what surprised me was on the side quests. You know, like, one that jumps to my mind was one I did yesterday when you're with someone. It's like a priest of the fire, the red fire religion, and he's saying, "Oh, we've the some of our people have been massacred in this battle. Like I said before, the battlefield, this was the actual on the battlefield that was on. And he says, can you get some of the bodies and bring them to us and we'll burn them and we can send them to God. And you go in and then you go in there and then you think like, okay, this is just a general thing to get my XP up. Like, that's what you think in a normal game, but no, this is The Witcher. I was like waiting for something exciting to happen. Then now there's one person who's still alive and he says that, no, what they do is they burn people alive, sacrifice them to the gods so that they kind of get more kind of fanatic and more real in the god's eyes, I suppose. That's what they believe. And you think, okay, I don't want this to happen, I want to keep this guy alive. And then you go back and you kind of talk to the priest a bit and he tries to talk you out of it. And then you got to make a decision. Do you go for believe this guy's story or do you believe this person's story? And I believed the soldier's story, and then I killed the priest and the people he was with. And then later on, when I was in Novigrad and I was just walking around talking to people, there was rumours of things that have different happened, so you kind of cemented what happened in your mind, and you feel like, okay, I made the right decision. But that doesn't happen a lot of the times. There's times when you think you're making the right decision, and then a few quests down the line you think, oh shit, I fucked up, I went wrong. You've got to really think about your decisions at times, which has kept me entertained throughout. Yeah, it certainly has. And I've never played a game with this much level of story on side quests, on main quests. It's just another level, an absolute another level. Like, yes, lore-wise, there's richer games out there like Dragon Age and the Elder Scrolls series and Fallout. There's definitely other games out there with background lore which is far more richer than The Witcher. The rhyme. But for stories in the quests that you're doing, in the side quests, no game that I've played tops this at all. No game. So, that's kind of what I wanted to say about the characters in the quests that you do, and which was my favourite part of the game. It really kind of kept me playing throughout. But a negative that I want to talk about is some of the open world mechanics I wasn't a huge fan of. Like, I was a big fan of first of all, the Witcher contracts. The Witcher contracts were great, where you'd get this contract off the notice board, and you'd talk to the person who set it out, bargain a price, find where this monster is, and then learn its strengths and weaknesses, and then go out and kill it. And then you bring his head back, and then you get a shit ton of gold. It was then things, the Witcher contracts, in the strongest part of the game for me outside of the quests. But what I didn't enjoy is the kind of hidden locations with the question marks on the map saying like, oh, there's something here that you haven't discovered. And then you go there, and then obviously it's something like being to kind of extract power from, so you can get a new mutagen for your sign or something, or you can get a buff for your signs. And I wasn't a fan of this at all, because I prefer to kind of come across things organically. And I know that on the PC there is a mod out there where you can disable this, but on the console, because I played this on PlayStation 4 because I can't afford a top of the range PC, it wasn't there. Like, you know, I couldn't turn it off, and I would have turned it off because it would have been better to find it stumbled across. Like, the best parts of the running around in the world for me was when you find a monster, just like a kind of creature that was just there, like just out in the corner. You think, oh shit, that's there. I'll go fight this and find out these weaknesses. It will be handy later on. And then you go out and you get off your horse and you'd kill it, and that would have been a marker on your map, but you wouldn't have seen it before. So the ones where I accidentally came across it were the ones that I enjoyed most, where that didn't happen a lot of the time for me. Because I was kind of got to the stage where you're kind of looking out for them, and it was kind of a chore for me to kind of do them things, and I kind of felt like I needed to do them so I could get them buffs, so I can get them extra options in my character choice menu, so I can get that extra XP, so I can level up a bit faster. And I didn't enjoy the areas of the game, and I didn't enjoy things like horse racing. I thought that got a bit bland after a while. It would have been good if there was a few tournaments, I suppose, not just race after race, like, which you could say like is a bit of a pecky detail to kind of pick at, but it's the little things, you know, that make it great. And having a tournament like you do with Gwent, I'll come on to Gwent later on in the video, it would have made it kind of more enjoyable, and kind of possibly even train your horse up a bit and have a bit of a focus on that. And it didn't really have that, in my opinion. And what the game kind of felt like to me most of the time was, you do a quest, and then you check if you're strong enough, and if you are strong enough, you run and do another one. If you're not strong enough, then you'll fight a couple of enemies, get a bit of try and get a bit of coin or something, and then get better gear, and then go off and do a quest. It was, at times it was a bit of a running simulator between places, trying to fast travel, which got a bit dull at times for me because the quests were so incredible. I do think that as the open world mechanics of the game, there is a lot better out there. In the sense that, I mean, like, I'm going to use an example from Skyrim. That in Skyrim, any time in the game, you can go like, I'm just going to run in this direction, and then I'm going to find a cave and I'm just going to explore it. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you. If you run in the direction and go, you will find adventure. Like, you will find a cave with a lot of interesting enemies in there, and you'll get some incredible loot. You'll find different items that you never thought existed. This is the first time you've played it, and then you'll go, wow, this was really worthwhile. Whereas in The Witcher, you kind of run around, you find some wolves, you kill the wolves, you run on trying to find a bit more, but you find some dryners and you kill the dryners, and then eventually you'll die and then load back to when you just fought the wolves. That's kind of what it was. And when you did find a cave and you went in there, a lot of it was kind of not sectioned off, but kind of scripted against you to kind of turn around, because it was saved there for a quest, which I personally didn't like, but I could happily turn a blind eye to that because I enjoyed the quest and the characters so much. Okay, the next part that I wanted to talk about before... No, let's go into Gwent. Let's go into Gwent now, and then I'll talk about the combat and the locations afterwards. Gwent, for me, was something that before the game I didn't care about. I had no interest in playing it. I thought before the game this is just going to be a little thing on the side where I can just leave and never touch, and I'll be okay. And you can do that. You can never touch it. You can just leave it there, and then okay, Gwent is not playable, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to play Gwent, which is great. You know, it's great to have options in games like this. It's always fantastic to have options. But I fell in love with Gwent. Like, I'm not a card game fan. I don't really play card games. The furthest you'll get me with card games in real life is like blackjack. I don't know what it was about it, but I think it was mainly because it was names that you could recognise of people that you've kind of fought against in the game, and you think, like, oh, I know this and I know that and I can understand this. And the more you understood about the tactics of it, the more I kind of went into kind of thinking like, okay, this is a good way for me to get a bit of money, and plus I'm enjoying myself at the same time. And it takes much less time than something that, say, a Witcher contract would do. Whereas in other games, say for instance like the mini games that you get in Fallout, like they're not as much tactically based. Like they're a lot more luck, especially in New Vegas, because you are basically gambling. Whereas in The Witcher 3, it's you. You know, you're the one. It's your tactics. Like at times you're thinking like, okay, I'll maybe let them win this round, and then I'll come back and use these and these cards for the next one and go win it. And then when it works, you feel happy. And this probably is something that not many people thought like, because they probably play hard games like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. Whereas with me, I don't play Hearthstone, I don't play Magic the Gathering, I don't play card games. So this was really my first card game experience, and I've spent countless hours playing Gwent, I have to admit, on the game, and something that I thought would be a gimmick, and let's be honest, it is a gimmick in the game, but it's a great side activity as well, you know, and it's something that I've had a lot of fun playing, and it's made me think like, should I give card games a go, like a few card games like Hearthstone on the tablet, something like that, as I like the kind of tactical area of it, and I'd definitely like to give some card game a go, because it's really got me intrigued. Okay, to the combat. The Witcher combat, as well, I'll start with the Witcher 1. The combat in the first Witcher was shambolic, to say the least. You know, it was incredibly clunky, so slow, very unpolished, and fighting enemies was such a chore, as you wanted to quickly get that done to move on to the story areas, which is why everyone played the first Witcher, in my opinion. Whereas in the second Witcher, it was a very difficult and very kind of old-fashioned action combat system, as it was kind of a button to dodge, a button to attack, and then you move around, which isn't normally what we kind of see now in the modern day RPG. And it was an improvement, but still kind of poor in my opinion. And The Witcher 3, I like it has improved and has become a lot more casual, if that makes any sense, because you still dodge and you have the big dodges, strong attacks and fast attack, but you can parry now, which was something that you could only do when dodging on The Witcher 2. You can deflect arrows now, you can pirouette more on command. The way that you use signs now is a lot better than I've seen in the other Witchers, and I do think it's a lot better. I do think it's a much better system than what I've had before, but it's not my favourite combat system, and not something that I would necessarily want in a lot of other games, because I do feel at times it does get repetitive when you're fighting an enemy, and you get into kind of a routine where you're like dodge attack, dodge attack, strong attack to kind of get the damage down. You get into a bit of a rhythm, which I kind of don't really like. I like it when it kind of throws you out there, which I didn't really like the combat in Dragon Age Inquisition. I kind of detested it, but you was on your toes, to use the abilities at the right time to kind of get out of the way, and you had to manage the situation well. Whereas in The Witcher, I feel like once you got into a bit of a rhythm, you were kind of set, and yes, the game is challenging. You have a lot of challenging enemies, but it's usually by mistake in the rhythm, not because the enemy tried something new. And that might sound a bit odd to people who haven't played it, but if you play it, I think you'd understand what I mean. Especially against the later on bosses, which have kind of poisoning effects and stuff like that. So I would have kind of liked a bit more kind of new, a way to kind of throw you out of your comfort seat, to kind of change the situation a bit more, but, it did its job, the combat system. If it had the same combat as The Witcher 2, I don't think I probably would have stuck it out as long as I did The Witcher 2, because I kind of would have got really dull and bored with it. But the way they use signs and the way you can improve the signs through the skill system, it did a really good job of improving it and kind of wanting you to use all your different signs. You didn't kind of have the sign that you kind of went to all the time. You had to kind of use them all in different circumstances, which I kind of really liked personally. And the final point that I wanted to talk about was the locations, the way the game looks, the graphics. As I know that the game got a lot of flack for being released with a kind of downgraded version of what we saw in the trailers, which shouldn't be done by any developer at all, whether it's, say, Ubisoft or even a PC darling like CD Projekt Red. It shouldn't be done at all. You should be advertising the true copy of the game in the gameplay. But I'm going to be kind of not really be talking about that much. But the game, to me, looks absolutely beautiful. The game looks incredible, especially the water effects. The water looks sensational. The trees in the wind, it looks great. It looks the best I've ever seen. Like, the wind effects in this game, like, you can get dust coming out the ground. It's the best I've ever seen in a video game. It's probably the best looking game that I've ever seen, to be honest with you. It's a tie between this and GTA 5. Like, GTA 5 looks damn good. But I truly believe that the locations, like the cities, and like things like bridges coming across, and like the odd mountain here and there, is the part of the game that really made me feel like, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've really wanted to play since Skyrim, because this has been really the next landmark RPG since Skyrim. Which might sound a little bit like, okay, there's been a few really good ones out, like Dragon Age Inquisition. They didn't really set me alight. This game it's one of the best RPGs that I've ever played. It's utterly sensational. And when there's them moments when you look across in the sunset and you think, wow, and I haven't had them moments since I played Fable 2 or Skyrim. The RPGs that I fell in love with, they've all had that moments where you've just stopped for a second and looked out and looked at a vista, looked at your character around to see how badass he looks in the surrounding mountains, or look at a view from a mountain and think like, wow, this game it looks beautiful. And it really wins you over in them moments, especially the main one for me that I'd say was going to Oxenfurt for the first time, and you go over the bridge, and halfway across the bridge, I look to the left, and you can see the kind of towers from Novigrad, and you can see the water, and it was sunrise for me at the time, So the sun was kind of glistening on the water, and you can see the trees, wind blowing, and then big ships to the right of yourself. And I was just looking out, and I was thinking, oh my god, that is the best view that I've had in a game. It was so incredibly beautiful, and it's things like that. It's them moments where you feel like, okay, that purchase that I've made for this game was well done. You know, I've made the correct decision to buy this game. And I would recommend this game to any person who is a fan of RPGs or likes RPGs. And I wouldn't say if you're kind of the fan of if you're kind of a gamer who always wants a challenge, who always wants to be on the toes, always wants to be looking around the back for enemies, I'd say stay away from this game. If you're expecting that is, because it is a challenge for, I'd say, between levels 1 and 15, but after that, there is times where it becomes a massive face roll, which you don't get in, say, Dark Souls, for instance. Dark Souls is always a challenge, Bloodborne is always a challenge. Them kind of game, if you're a fan of them kind of games, then and you're a really strong fan of the games like that, and you're not a fan of games, say, like Skyrim or Oblivion or Fable or Dragon Age, then I'd say you probably won't like The Witcher Wild Hunt after level 15, but for all of our RPG fans, I don't know, if you haven't got this game yet, go get it. It's sensational. If you're a story fan, say if you're a fan of games like The Last of Us, or games with like great stories like possibly even Uncharted or Shadow of Mordor, you're a fan of games truly because of the story, then and you're kind of a fan of fantasy, then I'd say put this game on the lowest difficulty if you don't want a challenge, and just enjoy the story, because it's film quality, this story. It's absolutely breathtaking at times, and it's got me gasping at points. And there's been times when I've wanted to tell George so much, but I've kind of refrained from talking to him about it, because I don't want to spoil anything for him, because there's going to be moments when he plays, and he's going to be like, wow, that was sensational. And if I give him clues, then he's going to kind of expect it, and I don't want that to happen. Don't want that to happen at all. And normally a thing for us is to kind of score the game on our opinions when we kind of do videos like this or talk about games in a podcast. And I'm going to go out and give it a full 10 out of 10, because the story is incredible. I'm going to compare other games, other RPGs to this. And so far, this has been my game of the year. Like, so far, like, you know, other games are coming out this year, like Metal Gear Solid 5's coming out, Fallout's coming out. There's a lot of games, really good games, well, hopefully really good games, we don't know until we get to play them, coming out this year, but this, I can't see anything beating this, to be honest with you. Like, and if there's a massive letdown at the ending, then I think that I would probably come back on that statement, but I'm pretty far into the game now, and I think there'd be a big internet backlash if there was a bad ending to it, or really unsatisfying ending, and there hasn't. Of what I've heard from people on the internet, they've said it gets really good in the last few hours of the game, like the last few hours of the main story. So I'm just kind of really looking forward to playing that, and I'm gonna go play it right now after I've just recorded this video. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've gone on a bit longer than I thought I would go on for, but I really wanted to get this video out a month after The Witcher 3 First Impressions. And yeah, please like if you want more of this, because I've enjoyed talking about my experience with the game. And I'm looking forward to George kind of getting there later on in the game, because he'll probably do his own video of what he enjoyed in the game and what he didn't enjoy. And I'm looking forward to kind of doing more videos like this in the future, where me and George get the same point, which will probably happen towards the end of the year, with different games coming out that we're both interested in. And I don't know what the next game will be for First Impressions. Probably going to be Arkham Knight, because I know it's had its problems, but I really want to play it, and I'll be playing it on my PS4, and I've heard it's good on there. So I'll probably get this game in the coming days, and try and get a video out by the end of next week for the First Impressions, which is like the first few hours. So yeah, please like, comment, donate, and also don't forget to subscribe to join the fellow Dogorians. Goodbye.